Hi, I'm Deborah, business owner and mom to Gen Z kids on a mission to make sure they get hired and become financially independent as soon as possible. If you're a parent wanting to get your kids hired or a new job seeker desperately trying to get hired, this show is for you, and I am so glad you're here. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, I have an incredible guest whose journey will resonate with so many first-time job seekers and their parents. Like many new graduates, she's faced challenges breaking into the job market, but through persistence and strategy, she's turned things around. She's here to share her story, the hard lessons she's learned, and the do's and don'ts that every new job seeker needs to hear. Without further ado, let's welcome Alexis Johnson.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. And, just to kind of get started, a little bit about myself is I grew up in Anaheim Hills and I went to Cal State San Marcos. I graduated in 4 years with a magna cum laude bachelor's degree in human development.
Awesome. Wow. Magna cum laude. Congratulations. Rare, special. I will not forget the first time that I saw that your mom had posted on Instagram that she was so proud that you had graduated, and I saw your sash with your honors, and I was like, wow, what a badass. That is so awesome. I'm sure she's going to go on to do great things. And then just fast forward, I saw your mom at a Christmas party and I was like, hey, where did Alexis end up working? And she was like, she hasn't found anything yet. What? How can this incredible, exceptional young lady not have an incredible job? And your resume just was not indicative of anything about you, because I know you and I know how special you are. So, okay, that's what I want to know. So that resume that was, with all due respect, lackluster. What? Tell me how that resume came to be. Like, how did you start with that resume? Where did that format come from? Tell me a little bit about how your school prepared you for the world to job hunt.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when I was in one of my college courses, it was an assignment for us to put together a resume and a cover letter. And it was a class to kind of prepare us for, our next steps. It was my senior year. And we were putting together our resume, and they had you put your job and your job title with 3 bullet points about that job. There was nothing in the beginning of the resume to really make you stand out, I feel like. And it was just a very structured bullet point type framework. And the cover letter itself, too, I feel like it was just give us a short description of, what you're doing. And there just wasn't much to really elaborate on. And then once you turned it in, you got a grade and then you moved on. There was no really building off of that to oh, well, you could do this to make it better. It was kind of just follow this, get your grade and move on type thing.
So more just like you completed it.
Yeah, I just completed an assignment practically. And
Okay.
I didn't know what a good resume really looked like because that was all that I knew was this assignment resume. And I didn't really, think to do much research like, oh, what can I do to make this better? Why am I not getting hired? And I guess I didn't use my resources. Like now I can see that there's so many out there and I just didn't use them.
Right. And I've talked about that on previous shows, that all those resources that colleges offer, and there are plenty, they're all optional, meaning you have to seek them out. They're not part of the curriculum. And I'm shocked that that isn't woven into the fabric of all majors at some point. I mean, give yourself a little slack. It's, you're in college there to learn also, but you're there to have fun too. And so if you are going to class with a full load and you're an honor student, and now you have to go in addition to that to go seek out more services, so many students don't do it. The majority don't. So that's what
Mhm.
happens. And that's ultimately your situation. Okay.
Yes.
So you didn't do an internship, correct, in college?
I did an internship. It was working at the Cougar Pantry, and that was our on-campus food pantry.
Okay.
And the reason I ended up in that one was because my major, you had to do an internship that somewhat, I guess, related to your major. And so there was also a school website that we could go to where it was internship opportunities that were already in their key that you had to pick from. And it wasn't encouraged to go out of that key that they offered and, find your own place, find your own internship in something that you are interested in. It was like, this is the list that we're going to give you. Pick something from the list that relates to your human development major. And
Got it.
so that's why I ended up in it. Little did I know I would have loved to go back and known a little bit more about, well, you can pick something that you want to do. It doesn't have to be from what we offer you, because then I could have gotten to, get my hands into something that I could have been really interested in while I was in school.
That makes sense. Were you aware of Handshake by any chance on campus? That's like
Mhm.
you were aware of it. Did you have an account and did you use it at all?
No, it was something, again, it was one of those resources that were offered, but it was an optional resource that just
Mhm.
didn't, they didn't really talk about it that much. It was like, oh, go on Handshake and do this. And they didn't
Right.
show us how to use it and how it would benefit us. And no one really stressed, like, if you do an internship, you can get a job from that internship, and this can take you somewhere, and you won't struggle with trying to find a job post college. Like, they really just did not engrave that into our brains. And I didn't have an older sibling. My parents haven't been
Sure.
in college in years, so they don't know how anything works. So it's like I'm the test monkey trying to, you know, pave the way here.
Yes, well, I know with absolute certainty that you've done it quite well. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So, how did you land your first job out of college, and how did that work out? How long did you stay? Tell me about it.
Yeah, my first job post college was with Travelers Insurance. My mom is employed with Travelers, and so she was able to recommend me for a job, or I guess
Hmm.
you could say refer me. And
Sure.
so I was lucky enough to get 3 interviews with Travelers, and it was an amazing experience. I felt so professional. And when I finally got the job, I was so excited. I was like, oh, I finally got my big girl job. Like, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
And it took a while. My resume definitely needed some help. And so that is when I met you, knew that Travelers wasn't really for me. I didn't like the idea of being in an office. And so that's when that's when you took my hand and we were on to the next adventure.
Okay, so let's talk about that next adventure. So, you ended up getting hired at UPS from Travelers.
I did.
Amazing, great company. And they do a lot of robust training in the beginning. So you were in their training program. Tell me about that.
Yes, UPS sales has a crazy intense training program. It was 4 weeks long, and we were remote learning. So we would sit on a Zoom call for the whole day, and we would go over this 400-page textbook. And we had 5 exams, and you had to score a 92% or higher on every exam in order to pass. And you were then placed in a ranking with your peers. And whoever was ranked number one and so on at the end would be placed in a territory first. And so, everyone's fighting to get the best test score, best attendance, and best like volunteering to answer questions in class and all of that fun stuff, because everybody wanted to be ranked number one. Everyone wanted to be placed in a territory first.
And who got placed in a territory first?
I got placed in a territory first. I was ranked number one.
Yay, go Alexis. Okay, so you were so excited to be at UPS. It was a big disparity from Travelers. You liked the culture of the company.
I
You had done
did.
ride-alongs initially. What did you love? What did you like about it compared to Travelers? What was the difference?
Like you said, I got to go on 2 ride-alongs with UPS, and both of the people were so kind to me, and they just showed me something that I really loved. I loved going to, different accounts with them and introducing myself to people in a sales world of taking care of them and marketing and also looking for new business. It was just, I fell in love with the day in the life. And it was a lot different than, sitting at a desk at an office, because that was really hard for me, come from being a server where I'm always going. And so I
Sure.
just really fell in love with everything about UPS and what they offered. And so I just knew that that's where I wanted to be.
Okay, so you get the job, you go through the training, you end up number one, you get the territory. What happens next?
I was placed in a territory on Monday, the beginning of my 4th week at UPS. And on Tuesday, the next day, we were put into this huge Zoom call, and over 350 people in my department were laid off that day, including myself.
Wow. So 4 weeks of training, top of your class, all the good things that are coming, and now you're laid off. Oh my God.
Boom.
Devastating. Devastating, right? Oh
Yes.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because this happens, and especially now. Like we are in a weird uh economic climate of job hunting, and especially for new job seekers because experience is really lacking. When that happens, I think it's really important to know how to pivot and what to do, because I was so impressed with how you conducted yourself immediately after this. I mean, I was devastated with you. I was like, got laid off. This is terrible. Okay. So tell me what you did after you licked your wounds. What did you do to pick yourself up and move forward?
Right away, I had to get my head back in the game. And it was something I was not totally excited about because the job search is tough and you
Mhm.
can be let down a lot. And so it took a lot, but I knew I had to challenge myself and really just, hit the ground running, which I did, and was applying to places and got let down a fair amount of times. And
How were you
then
finding these jobs? Were you on LinkedIn, or
mhm,
what resources were you using?
I was using LinkedIn. I was using, word of mouth if someone referred or recommended a specific job or position. Um,
But
and
I
just,
remember you saying you were on every day, like really going
yes.
through different resources. Were
Mm.
you connecting with people? Like, were you reaching out to any hiring managers, leaving messages? What were you doing? Be specific.
Yes, actually, on LinkedIn, there's a ton of recruiters on there that are constantly messaging you to see, like, oh, hey, Alexis, I just saw your profile. And so there was actually people that I would message back and they would never get back to me. So it's almost like
Mm,
these people had a quota just to reach out to people. And
uh-huh.
so I kind of pivoted from that and reached out to somebody that I found who worked with a company. He responded to me and he gave me his phone number and he goes, here, just send me a text, ask me anything you want. So I did that. And then he didn't respond to any of my text messages.
Oh gosh.
And just being on LinkedIn and Indeed, and I think one of them was even like Glassdoor. There was
Oh,
just so
mhm.
many different things that I was on looking for any opportunity that I could find. I just wanted someone to give me a chance.
Right, of course. Okay, and then you ended up getting a job. So tell me about how you got that job and tell me about the company.
Yes. So I have a family friend, and she worked for Enterprise Rent a Car for, I believe, 10 to 12 years. And so she talked about how much structure it gave her with sales and management training, and it just all around changed her life. And she knew some other people where it did the same. So I went ahead and I applied on LinkedIn, and their recruiter reached out to me. I had an interview with the recruiter, and then I ended up having an interview with the area manager and the branch manager. And their interview process is quite intimidating because you just want to make sure that you're answering everything perfectly. And they like to dig. Enterprise has a very structured system where they just make sure that everyone that they hire is the right fit. And I actually just found
Mhm.
out the other day that only 10% of people who apply get hired.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So, when you were applying to these positions, tell me, because one of the things you and I have gone over in great detail, and I certainly promote regularly, is making sure that you're tailoring your resume to these specific positions.
Yes.
So, you were taking the time to do that, correct?
I was, yes. You definitely taught me that. I
Okay,
didn't
good.
know that there is no such thing as one resume.
Right. No, kiss of death, right? Because how
Yes.
could you be? You have to niche down and be super specific so that you look like you are the perfect person for this position. Otherwise, you're
Yes.
just generic.
Yeah. I mean, when someone would text me, like a family friend, like, hey, shoot me over your resume so I can send it to my friend. And I'd be like, well, wait, I've got my resume with my picture on it. I've got my like AI resume. And then also I need to fix it up for whatever I'm applying to. And the older generation doesn't know what that means. They're like, what do you mean?
No,
Just send over your resume. And I'm like,
no,
oh
I
my
know.
goodness.
Yeah, no, the older generation doesn't know that that's the generation that's used to putting references available upon request actually on their resume. So
Yes.
no, it's very different now. And
Yes.
also just to touch on that, one of the things that I advocate for and I've done a show on previously is the difference between a resume that you're going to physically hand to like a family friend. When I say hand, I mean email PDF, obviously, or maybe walk in with a color copy. Versus something that you're going to submit on Indeed or LinkedIn that is going to go through an ATS scanner has to be AI and ATS friendly, but I did show you how to do a resume that is just more visually impactful because when you do have a family friend or somebody saying, "Hey, I have this sales position that I think would be ideal for you. Do you have a resume that I can send to this friend of mine?" That's a really good opportunity to use that visually impactful resume because
Mhm.
it's just going to make you stand out more. And there if somebody is hand carrying it in, when I say hand carrying, it's I actually mean emailing, but you get my drift. It's not going through an ATS scanner. And so that version is better just because, like I said, it's people are visual and they want to see
Mhm.
something that looks different. So I'm glad to hear that you found that to be helpful. But yeah, interesting because oftentimes people will say, "Oh, send me your resume." And you're like, there is no generic resume because I'm a new job seeker and I'm trying to get my foot in the door to a multitude of
Yeah.
verticals. Like I'm not super picky about what I want to do. I don't know if I want to do sales or I want to do something different. And so, yeah, you have to tailor your resume specific to the job you're looking for.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm so
I would
proud.
definitely say that when you have that warm contact, you want a resume that's easier on the eyes versus just the AI one where it's just a bunch of words and you don't know where to start.
Sure, sure. Yeah, as long as you are strategic about how that resume is used, because it will get kicked out of any ATS scanner for sure.
Yeah.
But if a family member or a friend, which in both of your cases to get hired, well, you no UPS, you basically went through the whole ATS process. But
I
when
did.
you got your first job at Travelers, that was you had a warm contact from your mom. And then this contact at Enterprise, you also had a warm contact from a family friend. So I just feel like that is so pivotal. And I want everyone listening to really focus on that is low hanging fruit. Anyone that you know that can help you position you into a job is definitely a good starting point. Otherwise, it's so hard.
Yeah, networking is everything. You have to talk to whoever you can because you never know how they can maybe help you current or even in the future.
Right. So one of the things that is so great about Enterprise is they really are very pro no experience college grad. Like
Mhm.
they love bringing you under the wing of their training program. My brother worked for them out of college too, so I'm very aware of their program. Tell me about what, because I know you just started a few weeks ago. What has it been like for you in terms of like how is the comprehensive training going? Do you feel like you're gaining skills you're going to be able to take elsewhere? What is your situation?
Yeah, so far I'm loving it. It was exactly what I was expecting and looking for. Enterprise offers, again, so much structure and it just makes you feel like you're on the right path to success. I remember my first day, I got there at 8 in the morning. At 8:30, my manager handed me car keys and said, "Hey, can you please go take this customer home?" And I looked at him with big eyes and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're already gonna let me drive?" Like it was just a shock to me. Like they really put you in and you hit the ground running there. And I've learned so much and I'm surrounded by very supportive people too.
Good. So it's a good
Yeah.
program.
Yes, it's amazing.
Okay, that's awesome. Good to hear. Okay, so now I want to know what if you could Monday morning quarterback this whole thing, what would you do different from college to now to position yourself into a job? Tell me your situation.
I would definitely use my resources more. Like the couple times that my college did, talk about handshake, I wish that I actually would have, looked into it. You when you're young and you're having fun in college and doing all your work, you're busy and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, like I don't need to look for a job right now. Like I'm fine. And you put it all on the back burner. And I wish that it was on my front burner. I tell as many people as I can, your junior year, look for an internship. Look for something that you may or may not be interested in. Just gain experience in something. Because who knows, by the time you graduate, you could be offered an 80 to $100,000, salary position, and you could walk right into it. I've seen it happen to people, and I wish that I knew to do that because I feel like I would have set myself up for more success and finding more resources, even outside of college, to build your resume because your resume is everything when you're looking for a job, especially when you're applying on Indeed or LinkedIn, people that you have never met before. That piece of paper is everything that you need to put forward for them to maybe even give you a chance at your first interview.
Well, Alexis, I have no doubt that you are going to go on to do great things. You are so motivated and so driven, and any company is so lucky to get you. I know this personally. So I am so proud of you, and I know that your future is so bright.
Thank you so much, Deborah. You're so sweet.
Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode and hearing from Alexis. I love having students on because everybody's perspective is very different. Their experience is very different. Couple key takeaways here. Your child's university is likely not preparing them with how to get hired post college, starting with a resume. I can't tell you how many students I've worked with from universities across the country and vast majors, and they are just terrible. They're terrible because they haven't been taught how to do it. And again, this is not intuitive. They need to be taught how to sell themselves on paper. It's a craft, it's a skill, it requires instruction. So I will link my free template. I have a cover letter and a resume template just to get them set on the right path of what format to at least use. There's notes in there about what to do, what not to do. So I will link that in the show notes as a good starting point. The other great takeaway here is network as much as possible while in college, out of college. That is how you leverage yourself into a job. It is so difficult to just cold call yourself into a job. It's very, very, very hard. So the more people you know, the more people you connect with, the more people you are connected with as parents that can help your kids. Heck, we're all in this together. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do share it with anyone that you think is in this season of life that might benefit as well. And in the meantime, I hope you'll have a great week, and I will be back next week. Take care.